Hi, and thanks very much for joining me here today. Are you thinking of downsizing, right sizing? Are you an empty nester and your home is just really too much for you? Are the monthly expenses within your home growing so much that they're eating into your budget and leaving you not much left over at the end of the month? Are you looking for something different? Or are you not really sure whether downsizing is right for you or not? Maybe, as with some people I talk to, downsizing is actually a dirty word. Well, if this is the case, I want you to know that you're not alone and that you're in the right place. My name is Mike Andrews, and I've been a full time licensed realtor since 1992. And I've also earned a 55 plus designation specialized in seniors housing. I've always had a passion for working with seniors, right from volunteering in nursing homes when I was a teenager to working with other community groups throughout my life, specializing with seniors. I've known for quite some time that aging is a lot about perspective. It's your own perspective of your aging and also others people's perspective of your aging. And this was really brought home to me recently when I was at a funeral, a celebration of life for my wife's uncle. And I was looking up at the wall at the pictures of him, and I saw one picture of him from when we first met. And I realized that he was younger in that picture than I am today, and I'd always thought of him as older. Well, if you want to know what other people's perspective of you is, you can try a simple experiment. Next time you're in a group of people, especially if they're younger than you, try this. Fall down. If everybody laughs, then they still think you're young. But if they jump up and rush to you in panic, well, I'm kind of afraid you know what that it looks like. Before we really get into things, I want to share with you my own personal story. And that's the story of my wife and I assisting her parents in their downsizing journey. When we first approached my in laws, it was because of the concern we had for her father. He was looking after their 3,300 square foot home and the corner lot that they were on. The grass was his pride and joy. You see, my mother in law had taken a fall, and over the course of a number of years, her mobility had been reduced so much that my father in law was also looking after all of the interior work in the home, the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry. And you see, he himself was recently recovering from triple bypass surgery. But when we sat down and started talking to them, they said, no, no, everything's fine. In fact, there's no reason to even consider the thought of making a downsizing at this time. My wife and I realized that pushing them and badgering them just wasn't going to work. So we backed off and we decided to just try and encourage them to at least start looking at their things and think about what it is that they might like in their future. Friends of theirs moved into a retirement home close to them, and they decided to go and have a look and see what it was like. Well, that tour was a turning point for them. They really liked it, and they were kind of surprised by how nice it was. So they put their name in, and in a very short period of time, they were called that there was a suite available for them. Well, that's when the real work began. My wife and I were sitting down with them, going through all of the things that were going to need to be done and all of the decisions that were going to have to be made. And we realized that we needed help because all of this needed to be done in a fairly short period of time. So we hired a downsizing consultant, and she was amazing. She helped them to figure out what they were going to be bringing with them. And then with the things that were going to be left over, how they were going to deal with them. Some going to family, some being sold, some being given away. And don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of work to do, but at least we had a plan. At least we knew what was going to happen. Well, she packed them up, moved them to the new place, unpacked them, and helped them to get settled in. Well, they had a wonderful few years there. They really enjoyed it. My father in law relaxed. He enjoyed his new freedom from not having to look after all the cooking. Meals were being provided. He didn't have to do the cleaning because there was a weekly cleaning of their suite. He didn't even have to do all the laundry because some of the laundry was being looked after by the retirement home. Unfortunately, my mother in law was out one day and she took another fall. And that meant that she was going to have to go to a nursing home. But even saying that, those years that they had at the retirement home were good ones. And this story was a good story because my mother in law and my father in law had control. They were able to make decisions for themselves. It wasn't other people telling them what they had to do. And that was the case because they made the decision. They looked at the options before a crisis. And if I can make any recommendations to you, is think about what it is that you want. Think about the things that you have. Who do you want them to go to? Is there something special that you want to give to someone? Think about those things as much in advance as possible. Because if a crisis hits, oftentimes it's other people making decisions on your behalf. Today, I'd like to talk to you about how do I know that downsizing might be right for me? What is it that I actually want? I'm going to go through creating a roadmap for you, and it's the one that I use for people that I talk to. And then to create some action steps once you have your roadmap in place. And finally, at the end, I have a free gift for you. Out of all of the reasons that I hear that people use for downsizing, I find that they break down into three main categories. That's financial, lifestyle, and health. Under the financial, as I talked about in the very beginning, expenses within the home continue to grow. And once you retire, your income doesn't tend to keep pace with expenses. And at a certain point, expenses can get so much within the home that they eat into your monthly budget and leave you very little left over to be able to enjoy life. So you may want to unlock some of that hard-earned equity from your home to be able to assist you in looking forward and in being able to enjoy your life. In lifestyle, it could be that you have unused rooms in your house that you haven't been into for years since your kids moved out. Could be that you live in a certain area because of your work. And now that you're no longer working, you don't need to live in that area anymore. And you may want to move closer to your children and grandchildren. Maybe there are some things that you like to do that you'd like to live closer to. And finally, health. And as we get older, unfortunately, our health doesn't always cooperate. And we may need to make changes as a result of changing health situations. Sometimes you can make changes that allow you to age in place, but other times you have to move on. I don't want you to really rush through this part of the video. Take your time and think about what are some of your lifestyle options? Have you thought about whether it's downsizing, moving, or aging in place that's best for you? And are you thinking about this? Are you avoiding it? Are you dreading it? Maybe take a couple of minutes if you push pause and just sort of think about where you're at. Now, if you are avoiding downsizing, when I talk to people, some of the things that I've heard are they're just feeling overwhelmed and don't even know where to start in their downsizing journey. For some people, it's understanding what their options are. Other people, they really don't like change. And if you've lived in your home for 30, 40, or 50 years, I completely understand that. And finally, some people just don't know where to get the help that they need during this process. As I told you, I was going to help you in building a roadmap. And this is the roadmap that I use when I talk with people. We start with evaluating where you're at right now. And so when I do that, it's really in two areas. It's the financial and health. So in the financial, what does your picture look like? And then what we look at is envisioning. Well, what is it that you see still in your life going forward? And then we look at the different options that are available to you. And once we have an idea of those three, we can understand what kind of partnerships we need to create to assist you in going forward in this process. Then, once we have those partnerships created, we build action steps and we finalize your plan. And once we have the plan in place and we start working through the plan, you can decide whether you've been moving or you're going to be staying where you are. When we look at evaluating where you're at, one of the biggest assets that people have right now is their home. And understanding how much you can expect to get out of your home, I put together this net proceeds from your home sheet. And what it is, I used as an example, was a 4-bedroom detached home at $1,350,000. Now, your home may be worth more, it may be worth less, but it is something that you can work from and you can take a look. For most people, they've already paid off their mortgage and there are no discharge penalties. But if you still have a mortgage, then this is where you would put in how much you still owe and what the discharge penalties of that are. Legal fees for closing the sale, I've put in $2,500, and that's a pretty reasonable amount. The real estate commission, I've put in for 5%. Now, your moving costs, just so you know, if you are going to be using a downsizing consultant, then these costs may be slightly higher. And other costs, including the downsizing consultant, I did put in below, and that leaves you with a net amount that you can use towards it. Now, I really recommend talking to a financial planner that specializes in working with people that are seniors. And that way you can have an idea with your money invested what you can expect to have in the way of a monthly budget. And next, it's doing a little bit of envisioning, thinking about where you would like to go, what you would like to have around you, or who you would like to have around you. Again, please don't rush through this. Hit pause. Think about this a little bit. And I'd love it if you made some comments in below and told me what you were thinking about and what was important to you. When it comes to looking at the different options, I've included 8 common options. Now that this is not an exhaustive list, but it's most of the options that are available to people. In a condominium, condominiums have a lot of advantages. They are contained within a building. There's no exterior maintenance, no real interior maintenance. It's just your own suite. And if you're a traveler and you would like to be able to go away, you can just put the key in the lock, turn the lock, and walk away. Now, the disadvantage is that it's still an ownership and you still have to have the equity available to make a purchase. Bungalows also are a good consideration. If you have a 2-story home and you're just finding those stairs just being too much, a bungalow is a home that's all on one floor, and it makes it easy for getting into and moving around within it. The disadvantage of a bungalow is that there may still be some exterior maintenance and maintenance of the home that you have to look after. One of the newer options is a garden suite or laneway housing. And City of Toronto has really embraced this, whereas other municipalities around Toronto are still working through some of the rules and regulations of what that's going to look like. Now, where that can be an advantage is that if you have a child that has a large yard or a child that's willing to move and buy something that has a property that would be conducive to building a garden suite or have a laneway house, then you can put your garden suite there, maybe assist your child with their living expenses or with their purchase expenses, and be able to live close to them, but not actually live with them. So that can make it nice for being able to look after your grandchildren or visit your grandchildren. And also, it gives your children a peace of mind of you being close by. There's also life leases and just a simple rental. And a life lease is sort of like a rental, but in it, you put down a sum of money up front, and that guarantees your lease for life, for as long as you can remain independent. Whereas a rental, you don't put down anything up front, but the advantage can be that if you don't like something, you're not committed for a long period of time and you can move. The disadvantage is that if it's a private rental and that person who owns the property wants to sell it, you may have to move before you would like to. Some people choose to age in place, to make some renovations to your home that keep it safe for you. Things like chair lifts, bars in the washrooms to be able to assist you in being able to get up or down. Maybe a ramp in the front of the house to help you get up some stairs. Now, this can be a great option, especially for people if you've lived in your home for 30, 40, 50 years and everything around you is familiar to you. The downside is that there may be costs that you have to pay out of your pocket towards making the renovations to make it safe for you. So if your goal was to unlock some of your equity because your home is eating into your budget, unfortunately, this may not be an option that works well for you. There's also independent retirement living. And these retirement homes come with a variety of different levels of care. Some of them are completely independent, meaning they have their own kitchens, but because they're in the retirement community, they do have care available if you need it. And then you can look at the independent retirement that has meals included and also some cleaning and laundry included. Now, these are slightly more, but it can be a great option if you're just tired of trying to decide what you're going to eat every single day for the rest of your life. And they also have nurses available. There are also services available, like putting together your pills and making sure that if you are forgetting to take your pills, you can pay for that service as well. Finally, some of the things that people look at are moving to different areas or maybe becoming a snowbird. And if you are trying to unlock some of your equity to assist you, you may look at some of the outlying communities where the cost of housing is a lot cheaper. And so you can still have your own home, but have some extra money to fund your lifestyle. The downside of that is in your evaluation of where you are currently, understanding where your health is at. Is your health stable? Is your health declining? And look at the doctors that you need. Unfortunately, in some of the communities surrounding the GTA, they are underserviced when it comes to family doctors and potentially hospitals. So you may need to be able to look at those areas and say, how am I going to be able to come back to Toronto to be able to have my doctors available to me? And then there's reverse mortgages. And so we talked about aging in place and maybe needing some of the equity from your home to be able to do some of the renovations to your home so that way it can stay safe for you. If it's a shorter period of time, say like 5 years or less, maybe reverse mortgage can work for you. The idea of a reverse mortgage is that you can get a lump sum of money, or you can use it like a line of credit and draw from it to assist you in supplementing your monthly budget. And you don't have to make any payments back against that mortgage. You only have to pay it back once you sell your home. Now, something to really keep in mind is understanding that you're not making payments against that mortgage. So the amount that you owe is going to be going up every single month because you're no longer making an interest payment against that. I want to simplify your journey. I bring partnerships into place that are designed to help you. In looking at your downsize, there's really three ways that you can do it. You can go it alone. You can do your research online. You can listen to the things that I've talked about, try and create your own roadmap, figure out how you're going to do it. You can also look at hiring a family friend or your own family members to assist you. And that can work. And if you've got a family friend who's a realtor, that can work. But I often find that the people that go through it end up with a lot more stress. And if problems arise and the people that they've chosen aren't specialists, don't know how to handle different situations, don't have the referrals for the people that you need, it may not work out well for you. The third choice is dealing with someone who is specially trained, who has the knowledge and experience in dealing with people through this downsizing process. And that's the one that I strongly recommend for you. This is my team that I put together for people that I'm dealing with. There's the realtor, which is me as the quarterback, and the senior specialist, and I've been specially trained in working with seniors and dealing with seniors in a downsize. Then there's also the downsizing consultant. And as you heard from my own personal story in having a downsizing consultant come in, it was a real assistance and help. And depending on whether you've got family that can assist you, there are different levels of service that a downsizing consultant can do, right from helping you to go through all of your possessions, deciding what to bring with you, deciding on where are the other things going, and they can actually deal with all of that for you, as well as moving you and settling you into your new home. Having a good cleaner, so that way when you empty your home and get it ready for sale, a good cleaner can really make a difference to how your home looks. A handyman and contractor for maybe some minor repairs that would add to the value of your home, but not really cost you a lot. So having that really good handyman is essential. You may decide that you want to stage your home for the sale, and having a good stager can do that. Finally, when closing the sale, you need a lawyer, and you need a good lawyer to make sure that if there's any issues that arise, The lawyer knows how to handle them. And finally, when you're looking at planning out the rest of your life financially, having a really strong financial planner who can get to know you and create a plan for you that is customized to your needs and your expectations, so that that way they can assist you in knowing what you have available to you based on what your desires are. And I have access to all of these people, and I'm happy to refer you to these people, whether you use me or you don't use me. And then once we have our plan, we have figured out who our partners are, and we can put that plan into action. And we can create the action steps that are necessary and start working through that plan to get you ready to move on to what's next for you. And as part of that plan, I've put together a book. I wrote a book on downsizing. And as my thanks to you for taking the time out to watch this today, I'm making it available to you. There's a link below. Then, if you click it, you can get access to either the digital copy, or if you fill out the hard copy request form, you can also get a hard copy delivered to you at no charge. Before I leave you today, I'd like to share with you one more story, and that's the story of Mr. S. I was introduced to Mr. S by one of his sons, who was referred to me by another client of mine. Now, Mr. S had three sons. He had one son that lived in Halifax, one in Calgary, and one in Vancouver. He didn't get an opportunity to really see his children very much because of their distance from him. And he didn't have the money available to be able to go and travel to them because he was living on OAS and CPP. And over the years, he had a lot of deferred maintenance in his home. And when his son came to visit him one day, he found that the roof was leaking, there were plumbing problems, and there was even some concerning electrical issues. And so he called me, concerned for his father. His father agreed to meet with me, and I went and met with him with his son there, and we had a really good chat. And we talked about what it is that he was really wanting and what he was really hoping for. And we talked about some of the options that he might have. When it came down to realizing that he might have to sell his home, he said to me, "Mike, who's going to want to buy this pile of junk?" And I assured him that there were going to be a lot of people who would really like to buy his home. He said, okay. And we looked at some condominiums in a senior friendly building, and he really found one that he liked. And we made an offer, and he purchased it, and we put his home for sale. Well, within a very short period of time, I brought him multiple offers. And when he looked at the offer and saw the price, he was astonished. He was able to buy his condominium and still have over $1 million left over. Invested, he now had an increase in his monthly budget of $4,000. Well, he moved and he started traveling to go and see his sons. About 6 months after his move, I had the opportunity to go and visit with him. And he was so excited to tell me about one of his recent visits to Calgary, where he got to see his grandson play hockey for the first time. He was over the moon. And then all of a sudden, his face changed and it looked sad. And I asked him, "What's wrong?" And he said, Mike, this whole process, while it was stressful, went pretty well. And he said, there's only one thing that I regret. And that is that I didn't do this 10 years ago. That made me sad. And I hope that you hear this story and you don't hear it as a sales tactic, as something to try and convince you to do something that you may not be ready to do. I just ask you to think about it and consider it. Well, thanks again for taking the time out to listen today. And I'd like you to know that no matter what you decide to do, I'm here for you and I'm rooting for you.